just crafting around. Hi, my name is Kelly Brander and I will be your host. We are going to be working on this huge wall and we are going to be decorating the office in here. So far, what I've accomplished is the word family. What I have done is we had made this on a different show, just pretty basically found some letters that I liked. Found a marquee light. A lot of the letters, there is 4 letters that we actually painted, we distressed. Put the name Bechtold and Brandner. I was a Bechtold, my husband was a Brandner, so I put that on the M because the M is pretty high. What I did also is, because these are light, I didn't want to put so many holes in the wall. So what I ended up buying are command strips, and the command strips are for pictures, for hanging pictures. If something is too heavy, I have read reviews and stuff like that, these don't work real well, but I have had this hanging up for over a week now. The F and the A I've had hanging up for about 2 weeks. They haven't fallen, so keep your fingers crossed. The other letters I hung up last week, so they are still hanging. I'm going to try a couple more strips on some other stuff that I have, and I'll let you know how that turns out as we go along. But you get small, medium, and large strips. Most of these I've been using the large strip for. Some of the stuff doesn't have a backing to it, like the A and the L does not have a backing. What I did was I just took smaller strips and I put them on the back and put it together. They are very user friendly. There's nothing to really read. They do have the deal on the back of how to use those. So we're going to try to use as many of these as possible because, like I said, we do have quite a few holes in the wall here from other people in this office, staying in this room right here. Okay, let's go back to the back room and we shall get started on some projects to add to the wall.
Valley is now offering updated digital TV packages and prices. High definition and caller ID is now free with all TV packages. Call Valley today at 437-2615 to find out more.
Welcome back. We were just in the office where we have the family sign, and now, or the family, the words up on top by the wall, and now I want to show you a couple different ways of how I make signs. There were a couple messages and stuff that I liked, and this was just trial and error. This is reading on the internet at nights and stuff when nothing good is on TV. Afterwards, and when you're done, there's things that I think, oh, I could have done this, or oh, I could have done that, or I write them down so that I can try them later. This is actually one of them. First of all, I wanted something in the office that, because I'm there most of the day, I'm there 8 hours a day. I want stuff that makes me feel happy, stuff that I can look at and remember my family, I guess I'm trying to say. I did find a few sayings that I really like. One of which is, because every picture tells a story. If you really sit back and think about it, every time you take a picture, it tells somewhat of a story. Somebody within that picture is thinking about something, thinking about someone, has something on their mind, so every picture really does tell a story. I'm going to show you a couple ways of how to get these words, what I use anyway, of how to get these words on a sign. I can't freehand, I'm not good at that. I would really like to take a calligraphy class or some kind of a writing class to where I can do that. And you can go online and you can look in youtube.com, you can go in there. They have different classes, free classes, different things like that. I'm going to try to do that next winter. What I did was I found a font that I really liked. When you're tracing and you're doing fonts, some of the stuff is very pretty, but also remember, depends on where you're putting it. It can be very difficult as well. If you're going to be painting it, again, think about the font that you want to use. I like the chunkier font. I'm not the kind of person to take my time and do this and do that. I'm the kind of person, I like to do it, I know what I want to do, and I want to get it done. I go for the chunkier fonts. This is called CF Jack, is the name of this font. I found it online, free, downloaded it, like it. Okay, this is just a piece of pine board that was already pre-cut. I had decided what colors I wanted to use in that office, so I want to stick with those colors all the time. So this is one of the colors I'm going to use. I painted the front twice, the back ones because you're not going to see the back, but I still want to paint it. To me, it's unfinished if you don't paint everything. Like I said, the back, you're not going to see it that much. I painted it once. So here's the front. What I'm first going to do is, if you know me, you know I like to grunge things. I like to make things look old. I like to collect antiques. I like the shabby chic, old looking stuff. So we're going to grunge this a little bit. What I'm going to do after I'm done with this, because it's chalk paint, I'm going to go over it with soft wax. I like the Ann Sloan wax the best. You can get it in clear, you can get it in white, you can get it in brown, and you can get it in black. I am going to be using the dark wax, the brown wax. What this does is it has a tint of brown in it, so while you're waxing, after you're done doing what you want to do here, once you are done and you're going to wax it, it is going to give everything a brown finish to it. We're also going to put a little design on here. And what we're going to do is, I like the Tim Holtz collection. Why I like the Tim Holtz collection, and this is a stencil, I buy a lot of his stuff because he does ideology. And with that, it's usually everything from the past. Fits into my scheme of things, vintage, shabby chic, torn, ripped. Most people go and they shop for things, and they shop for things that are perfect, not me. I look for things that are dinked, dent, and bented. It has a story to tell. If something is perfect, there's no story to tell, is there? I like to get the dinked, dented stuff. Okay, so we're going to use this. We are going to put some texture paste on. I know I've done the texture paste before, but we're going to do this again, and I'm going to show you how very, very easy it is. This dries fast. You need a stencil. Try to get the heavy stencil when you're going to use the texture paste, because the heavier the stencil, the more the paste is going to raise. It's going to be, it's this texture paste, when it dries, actually leaves it raised and doesn't leave it flat on the board. Okay, texture paste, stencil. The other thing we're going to use, and I haven't used this yet, so this is the first time. I did read online and I decided to buy what's called Grunge It. What Grunge It does is, after you've waxed your board, you let it set for a few minutes until it becomes tacky. Once it becomes tacky, don't wait for it to be dry, just wait for it to be tacky. You take this stuff and you dump it over the top. Let it set for about 20 minutes to a half hour. Take it, dump off the excess of it, and then it's going to go into, you're going to take a brush and you're going to rub it in. You're going to rub it in, and we're going to rub it into the texture that we're going to put on there, which is going to be this. We're going to rub it in, and it's going to set into the creases and make this even look older. So, like I said, we haven't tried this, so you're going to try it with me. I have other projects that I really want to use this for. I have a couple small corbels at home that we're going to use, and we're going to make a shelf for in that room using those little corbels. With using those little corbels, we are going to be painting it white, and we're going to use the Grunge It as well. So stay tuned, and I'll let you know if it works. Okay, let's get started. First of all, never forget the coffee. Most important thing ever. Don't forget the coffee. Okay, looking at this board, like I said, I've already painted it. We're going to take the sander. Again, an electric sander. Every woman has to have an electric sander. It's going to be messy when you sand, because of course you've got sawdust flying around all over. So go to a ventilated area and be sure that you wear safety. You should actually have a mask, which I don't have, but you should have one so that you're not inhaling and breathing. Sometimes when I'm out in the garage and I'm doing a lot of sanding, I'll come in and blow my nose, sand dust all over. That's not a good thing. So if you do have a mask, wear a mask, especially if you are going to be doing a lot of sanding. Okay, let's go over to my sanding area.
Blazing fast broadband internet from Valley is now available and better than ever. Let us help you decide which speed is best for you. The 50 meg speed would be sufficient for 1 to 4 devices, mainly emailing and surfing the web. Our 100 meg speed works great for 5 to 8 devices and multiple users streaming and downloading video. If you have 8 devices or more that are simultaneously streaming or gaming, or if you have a medium-sized business, the 250 meg speed would work best for you. For extreme heavy home or work from home use, or if you have a medium to large business using 15 or more devices, you may want to consider our 500 meg download speed to fit your needs. And if you're a home or business that needs it all, we have our 1000 meg, 1 gig broadband internet speed. Call our office today at 437-2615 and talk with one of our staff members to pick the speed that's best for you.
This board is a thin board, so you can't get too rough with it, but I always take a towel or something, put it on your lap, and then start sanding. I've been asked before, how do you sand and how do you decide where you sand? I sand edges, always the edges. If I'm doing a piece of furniture, how I sand it and go along and grunge it is, where do you touch it a lot? Because that's where it wears. If you're opening up a drawer, you want to go around the drawer pretty good and do some sanding around there. If you open a drawer, the sides are going to be where you're going to want to. All the ends, the sides here, I even take it and go up on top up here a little bit, and the reason I do that is so that you can see it. If I'm hanging this and you just take it and you do the sides along here, you're not going to see it. If you go into the wood a little bit more on the fronts, then you'll get to see it. So let's get started. Like I said, every woman needs one of these. Thank you, Lauren. Done. You can see where I have taken it and I've gotten over the tops like this. You can see, and I'm going to go along here because I want to get the edges on the ends as well. I don't like things to be so squared off sometimes, depends on what I'm doing. So along the sides here, I'm going to kind of round them off a little bit. Done here, and now back to the table. Once you are done with this, you should take a paper towel and make sure that you have all the dust off of it because it does leave some dust. That way you can also see if you want to grunge things a little bit more, if you want to leave them the way that they are. I use chalk paint. The reason I use chalk paint is because in this situation, it is just a lot easier than acrylic paint or regular flat paint. It's easier to work with, especially if you're going to be, you want to take off some of the excess paint. What you need to do though is if you use chalk paint, you need to wax it, especially if it's going to be something that you're going to be wiping off. These I'm not going to wipe off that much. I'm not going to put a lot of wax on it. It's not something, I'll come along and dust it, but I'm not going to be using like water and soap, because water and soap will wash this, will wash it away. Okay, you can see in some spots here how this got kind of the off-white kind of a look. That's okay. I want it to be that way. Okay, we're going to set this aside. We have our words and stuff ready here. Two different ways that you can do this. I think what we'll do is we're going to put on the stencil and stuff first. We're going to measure to see how far away we want the stencil, because this is a pretty long sign. Okay, I'm going to cut off part of the end. As you can see, I printed it on 3 pieces of paper and then I just put it together. So it came on 3 pieces of paper because of course 1 wasn't enough, 2 wasn't near enough, so we had to go with 3. Okay, I'm not the kind of person to really measure. I'm just not a very measuring kind of a person. Seems to never turn out when I measure. Works out better the other way. So I'm just going to kind of lay this in here. I know that I'm going to want to be a little ways away from that. We'll open up the stencil. I like this, really like this look. I'm going to lay it on here and see how far away I want to be from there, how far away this is going to end up. And if you use this and you come off the ends, that's good. Nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with that at all. If you take the stuff and you just smear it so it goes off the end, not a problem. Just want to make sure that my whole letter is going to fit on here, and it will. I'm going to run this off one more end here. Take a look at it. So, and I am going to use white texture for this. What you can do is if I wouldn't be grunging this at all, if I wouldn't be taking any of this off, what I would do is take a little bit of chalk paint, take some out of here, take some of this texture out of here, take a little bit of chalk paint. If I want it the same color, mix it up. What you could do is tint it a little bit darker or a little bit lighter than the color that you used. You can do whatever you want, or you can put this on white, paint over the top of it, whatever. It doesn't matter, however you want to do it. There is no right, there is no wrong way. Okay, I am going to use this right here. So I want to make sure that I do have this on fairly even. I am going to use, I've got frog tape here. I'm going to tape it down because you do need to tape this down. I found this paste at Michael's. That was the only place that I could find it, was at Michael's, and I believe it's on Amazon as well. So Michael's or Amazon. And I didn't think it was that expensive either. I was quite impressed, to be honest with you. I didn't think it was, and something different to try. Like I said, you have to go out of the box a little bit. Can't always stay in the box. You've got to go out of the box. And you can't do, there is no such thing as right or wrong. It's what you like. It's what you want to do. There is, like I said, no right or wrong. I'm going to kind of eyeball this a little bit. And remember, your board is not going to be perfect. And the reason it's not going to be perfect is because we took and sawed it. So if you're going to look at this and you're going to say, well, that's off a little bit. Not really. Because of taking some off the end, taking some off of here, taking some off of there. Okay, does this look right? Looks pretty good to me. So, okay, now that I've got that, it's nice and flat. I'm going to take some of this paste. I really do like playing with this. This is like Play-Doh almost. Along with the paste, there are some tools that I also purchased. It's like putty tools. This one here is my favorite putty tool because you're going to smear it around. You're going to try to get it as even as possible. So this is kind of gritty. It's like a gritty paste. Stir it up a little bit. And it doesn't take a whole lot, just a little bit. And like I said, it dries quickly. And we do have some other things to do, so we can let this dry and then we can come back. There we go. Okay, let's take some of this paste and let's get started here. I'll move this away. Got some paste on here? We're going to start frosting, actually, is what we're going to be doing. Okay, so we're going to move this back and forth. You want to take the excess off. So we're going to make sure that we get it filled in. And then once we get it filled in, we're going to start taking it off. The only thing with this is when you're doing this, wash the stencil right away. Don't wait too long because this stuff will get in, it will set, and then it doesn't come off the stencil very well. Now, beans, we're going to kind of take it and take it down a little bit with the sander. We're not going to get too crazy about it. Put it on. Sometimes when you mess too much with it, you get into trouble. So, now I'm going to go over the top a couple more times. Take off the excess that you have. And never let this set too long and let it dry either. I found that out. That's not a good thing. Trial and error. Okay, now we're going to pull this up. And you're going to see some pieces on the edges here. Again, take your knife. And just pull it off. Like that. Pull it off the side. You need to just, sometimes depends, I go over the top. And there's what it did right over on the side. So I am going to go take the stencil. I'm going to take this. I'm going to clean up the table a little bit, and then I will return and we will start chalking this to put on here.
Faster than fast internet is here. Valley now has higher broadband speeds of up to 1 gigabit. Get the bandwidth you need for all your devices at one time. Gaming with no lag time. Video stream your favorite movies instantly in HD quality. Video chat with friends and family without interruption. Download your favorite music and photos in seconds. All on our 100% fiber optics network. Valley offers managed Wi-Fi and backup services too, bringing together all the services you need. Valley Telecommunications Cooperative.
Okay, and we're back. What we're going to do is we put the stencil, the raised, using the texture paste on here. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to show you how we're going to get these words on here. Okay, I'm going to line it up. Looks pretty good. And again, I eyeball everything, whether it be right, whether it be wrong, I don't know. Beans, and this is how I decide what I'm going to use for this. Because this is a lighter color, I am going to be using the lighter colored paint here. I am going to be using what's called sheepskin, which is a cream color paint. So I want to use that. When I use the cream color paint, I don't want the transfer, the black transfer to be used. So always think, what color of paint are you going to use when you're doing a sign? Okay, not going to use this. If I would be using black chalk paint for the lettering, I'd say fine, not going to do that. What I want to use is, again, the sheepskin. So an easy way of doing that is chalk, white chalk. I got a bunch of sidewalk chalk. I've got different colors at home that I use for different projects, different things. But beans, like I said, I'm going to be using the sheepskin, the cream colored. I'm going to use white chalk. Now, like I said, got our letters, got everything ready here. Set this to the side, let that dry a little bit, and we are going to start chalking this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off some of this excess paper here that we don't need. on here. There we go. One time I took off way too much. That didn't work either. I'm gonna lay upside down like this, letters like this. And now I'm gonna take some of this white chalk and I'm gonna chalk it up pretty good. Then I'm gonna use a ballpoint pen like this. I try to find the finest as possible because I'm going to be tracing. Tracing on this kind of wood is gonna be easy and simple and good. Tracing on the next kind of wood that I have is not going to be that easy, okay? Just start taking it. Hold it down. Start going this way. And get chalk on here. Again, chalk the bottom because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be coming along and you're going to be tracing. This is one of the easiest ways of doing it that I know. Again, found this on YouTube. Well, Pinterest to YouTube, excuse me. What would some of us women do without Pinterest? And if you haven't been on Pinterest yet, get on Pinterest, especially if you like doing crafts. They have a bunch of stuff on there. Okay, as you can kind of see, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's quite a bit of chalk on here. What happened was it broke. Excellent. That's what we wanted to do. Worked out better for us. Okay, we need to clean off the excess where a lot of times I have so much stuff on my table that I think I'd be less overwhelmed if I wouldn't have it all here. But then I find out that I need it and pretty soon I'm running all over the place looking for it. I also just kind of look to see if there's a spot that I'm missing. Doesn't look like it, looks like it's pretty good. This is dry. Just about dry. Dry enough for us to begin this process. Okay. Again, like I said, I eyeball. If you're good at this, good for you. I'm not. It doesn't work well for me. Sometimes my eyeballing isn't all what it's cracked up to be either, but I do find a lot of times too, if you can get stuff to print on one piece of paper, that's your best bet. I'm going to put that there. Because then you know it's going to be even all the way along the line. I like to try to get as close to this as possible. And then just start adding your tape to it. Put it
Valley Telecommunications is pleased to announce that our Technology Solutions Center is fully stocked and open for business. We have a large selection to meet your wants and needs. Some of the items we currently carry are a variety of corded and cordless phones, different brands of tablets such as Kindle Fires and Apple iPads and all the accessories for them, Telekin computers, Epson and HP printers and ink cartridges, Apple iPods and accessories, office supplies, wireless keyboards and mice, cellular phones and accessories, different types of media storage, cameras, headphones, power strips and surge protectors, and much, much more. You can also get your very own Valley swag. Our prices are reasonable and comparable to any other retail store. If there is something that you want or need that we do not currently carry, please let us know so that we can check into it for you. We accept all major credit cards, cash or check. Please feel free to stop by our office and check out our new and improved store for all of your technology and day-to-day business
We've got
needs.
this taped on. What we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to take a fine point pen and we are going to trace the letters. Then once we trace the letters and we bring this up, that is when the chalk should be left on there so that we can see in order to paint it. Okay, so let's begin. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. You can deal with it once you take it off, because I'm not so good with even staying in the lines sometimes. Probably the hardest thing to do with some of this is to choose a font that you like. If there's nothing that I hate worse is to be trying to read a sign and not be able to read it because it is either too scripted or the letters are in like different fonts, because it takes a while for my eyes to focus on it. Especially when you change the font in the middle of a word, or I don't mind like maybe one full word, but it's all kind of what you like. But your eyes always seem like they have to readjust afterwards. And like I said, never fear if you go out of the lines. Keep your piece of paper because so that you can see what it kind of looks like. I have ad-libbed before. I know you find that hard to believe, but I do. I ad-lib a lot. I asked Lisa behind the camera, how does this look? If she gives me the nod, it looks okay, we move forward. If not, guess what? It's probably a section we delete. We also laugh a lot, which you don't get to see, but there's times when I do things like take a sip of coffee and dribble down my shirt. Delete that, Lisa, please. Or I'll say a word wrong. Or it'll be Easter and I'll say Happy Halloween. That's always a good one. And I think I say Happy Halloween because that's my least favorite of them all. I always used to be scared of Halloween as a kid, so of course that wasn't my... The other thing you have to watch about this is when you start painting, you have to watch where you put your hands so that it doesn't move the chalk so much or take the chalk off. The other thing with this is this wood is a soft wood. It's crafting wood, so it is a softer wood. If you press down hard enough, you're going to leave the indentation actually in the wood itself too. So that's another way of doing it other than using transfer paper or using chalk like this. Just press down really hard with a ballpoint pen. Make sure that it's a fine point to use, and you can actually leave the indentation within the wood itself. It all depends on what I have at home is what I use. Another thing, you maybe don't want to get so wordy. Like this one is long, so of course this is going to take me a little while to get this traced, and then of course the painting process begins. And that's not always so bad either. Most of the time though, you're probably going to have to paint this more than once. And I'm saying that because depends on how heavy you want it. I try to find the stuff that I like. I try, whether it's wordy or not. I really did like this saying because of the stuff that I will be putting in the office. Every picture does certainly tell a story. When I look at the older pictures and stuff of my great-grandparents, I always wonder why they never smiled on a picture. Are they sad? Were they told not to smile? I know times were difficult and times were hard. Did they not smile because times were difficult and times were hard? You know, I don't know, but very seldom will you ever find a picture. I know back then, you know, most of the families had quite a few kids. And I know, like I said, times were hard and times were tough for them, so maybe that's why they didn't smile so much. But certainly every picture does tell a story. And a story that we may not know about, but the person in the picture has a story to tell. I fell in love with antiques, and I fell in love with things for the simple reason that when you go into a store and you look at clothes, or you go into a store and you look at a piece of furniture, sometime while you're in there, close your eyes and just even think, who wore this hat? Who touched this piece of furniture? Who had it in their house? Who was the person? Was the person poor? Did the person have, you know, some money? Did they have, what was their family? Who were they? Where did they come from? Every picture tells a story. Every piece of old furniture tells a story. What kind of life did they have? Things like that intrigue me. And I think maybe that comes with age. You get to thinking about that more. When I listen to my mom talk, and when my dad was alive and I used to listen to them, they would tell me the hard times that they had growing up as kids, how they used to share shoes, how my dad would used to tell me how they used to take potatoes and they would go down to the creek and they would go skating, and then they would build a fire and they would actually put those potatoes in there and they would bake them. And then that was their treat, was a baked potato. So they'd eat a baked potato, which I thought was kind of different, unusual. But back then they didn't have all the things that we have. And nowadays it's not like that. The hardships and stuff that the people had to go through. They didn't have the doctors and the facilities that we have now, not by a long shot. I'd like to listen to those stories, and pretty soon those stories will be gone along with the people. So if you get a chance, always take time to listen to your grandparents. If you still have them, listen to your parents, because I was born in the 60s. And I remember some of the storms when we lived out at the farm. I remember running to the basement with tornado warnings. Things were a lot different back then. And there will be different for our kids, and there will be different for our grandkids. Done tracing, done talking. It's all traced, so now let's peel this off and let's take a look at it. Once we're done with the wording, which is a little hard to see, but once we're done with that, then we can take it, once the paint is dried and everything is dried, you can take your hand and brush off the chalk. For right now, we're going to get started painting this. I will get the letters and stuff painted in, and then we'll come back and we will start taking the wax and stuff after it and see what it looks like.
Valley Telecommunications, the home team advantage.
Now that we're done with the lettering, I scratched off in a few places just because I kind of had a little bit of a mess. I took the sander, just went over the top, scraped it a couple times, not very hard, not very much. And now we are going to use the Ann Sloan dark wax, the brown wax. We're just going to wax over the top of everything. Just put a little bit on, a little bit goes a long way. And we're just going to wipe over every part of this. Of course, it's going to change the color of the look of the paint. It's also going to change the color of the look of the wording. It's okay as well. It's what we're looking for. Of course, we want to get the edges real good. Don't put on a lot of wax, because when you want it, you'll want it to dry. You don't want it to be wet, sticky. It will end up getting sticky if you put a lot on. Rub it in really good to the areas where you want it to be. It will soak into the parts that you are down to the raw wood. I always take a rag, kind of buff it a little bit. As you can see, some of the parts took a little bit more than other parts. It's okay, it's just the deal of the wood. I feel it, it's not tacky, it's not wet. That's what you want. You don't want it to be tacky, you don't want it to be wet. The other thing is if this would be a piece of furniture and you would use the chalk paint, you would want to use the chalk paint more, or you would want to, if you're going to be setting something on that furniture, you would want to wax it every year just to keep it from not chipping off or anything like that. Try to go in the same direction all the time. Like I said, you can tell that it took on the wood. Some of the stain took the wood on a little bit more than others in other areas. I'm going to even go over the top. I'm going to go over the top of the paste that we put on. Some of these areas I'm going to rub in a little bit more. I want it to be just a little bit darker. See where I took the sander over, because like I said, it is darkening those spots of the wood. Play with it till you get the consistency that you like. Sometimes I wax things, I walk away from it. You can come back and re-wax again. This part down here isn't taking as brown as what I would like. Just go over the top. A jar of wax will last you for quite a few projects. Like I said, as you can tell, it is getting the different parts of it, like the different grains. Work it in as good as you can to the different spots. We are going to go over here now, and we are actually going to take care of that part as well. So, and I'm just going over that lightly because I don't want to get it too, but I don't want the stark white part of it either. So we're going to go over that. Get a little bit more on my rag here. And then, like I said, we're going to add some of the grunge because we want it to get into this area here. Like I said, play with it, get it in the spots where you think that it should be. I want it more into the letters, so I'm going to really work it in good. It's going to be all to the liking of how you want it to turn out. You want more, add more. You want less, take off. What I usually do is let this set for a little bit, see how I like it. If I have to add a little, I do. But I also come along and buff it a little bit. I'm going to go in here now and just buff some of it off. As you can see, it does come off a little bit once you buff. It also gives it a little bit of a shine. It brings out the color of the wooden stuff quite a bit more. So buff around some of the areas. And this, because it is raw wood, really soaks into the wood. You can't hardly feel that you've even waxed it. We're going to put a little bit heavier coat on here because with the coat of wax, I want it to be tacky and sticky so that our grunget is going to stick to that. So I'm going to add a little bit more wax to this. Over on this side. Because this here has to have something in order for it to stick. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is we're going to open this up. And what the instructions tell us to do is just that. We're going to take it and we're just going to put it on the part that we want grunged in. Then it tells us to take a brush like this, kind of tack it in, and then let it set. We're going to take the excess off and put it back in the jar once it's set. They say to leave it on for a little while. So we are going to let this go. This is made of some kind of a rock that they actually take. I read up on that a little bit. So we're just going to let this piece set for a little bit here now. See how it turns out. We may like it, we may not like it. It may do something, it may do nothing. That we will wait and see. But this is the one that says, that tells us every picture has a story. Had a little bit coming off the sides here. And that's okay. Okay, I'm just going to go through a little bit with the next one that we're going to be looking at doing here. I like this saying too. Seriously love these people. And what I'm doing is I'm using a piece of wood like this. This is actually pallet wood, but what I'm going to do with this is instead of using the chalk on the back, what I'm going to do is, again, printed this out on a printer, had like 3 sheets of paper, took it. I didn't like the spacing was too far in here. I wanted to get the spacing up a little bit further, so I had to fiddle with this a little bit more. But what we're going to be doing different here is, as we're tracing this on, we are using tracing paper. Now tracing paper you can get just about anywhere. I have found this at Michael's, you can find this at Hobby Lobby, Joann's Fabrics. It's tracing paper. You can reuse that paper as well. So if I'm going to take this tracing paper and put it down here, I'm going to be using black and I'm going to be using black chalk paint for this. So this is hence why I'm going to be using this tracing paper. If I would be doing the off-white, the cream color white, a light color, I wouldn't use tracing paper. I would go with the chalk, because I do like that a lot better, the white chalk. Again, I'm going to be using black chalk paint for this lettering, so I'm going to use the tracing paper. Again, just like we said before, get things lined up, eyeball things. Sometimes it's better to just eyeball them than to do anything else. Instead of doing this, I'm just going to explain it instead of doing another sign. Not going to use any kind of wax or anything like that on there. What I'm going to use is a sealer. Once I'm done with that, you can get the spray sealer. You can get it in the acrylic matte, or you can get the acrylic gloss. I don't like the glossy stuff. I do like the matte finish to it. So I'll be tracing this on here. I might put the different things that you can find. I've got some corrugated metal here. I might put on the sides to decorate it. You can decorate it with lots of different things. Being this is a heavier piece of wood, I'm not going to be using that picture hanging. I am actually going to be taking this and I'm going to be drilling holes, and I'm going to be using either twine to hang this one, or you can get leather shoelace, which is really cool, I think, too. So I might hang this with leather shoelace on a hook, on a nail. Come back and I'll be able to show you the things that we've started to actually hang up on our wall.